When people say email is dead, they're just trying to get spicy likes on social media or something. I mean, that was crazy to us. Like, how can you have such an incredible brand on every other platform, and then your emails are just like this giant WTF moment, right? That's the moment that I knew. This is what you need to dedicate your life to, and this is what you need to do. It was profitable 2 weeks after we launched.
Wow. For a tech company, you know how special that is.
The amount of work that people put into their social feeds, that's scary, right? You're completely at the whims of the larger companies. Like, it's rented land, right? Email marketing really allows you to own your audience, and you can take it to any platform that you want. But at the end of the day, like, you're in charge of how you can communicate with your customers versus someone else. And I just think that's critical as a business owner. So maybe this is too spicy. I don't know. But
I mean, you're on the Social Currency podcast. There's no such thing as too spicy.
I believe marketing is dead. People will only buy from brands that they trust, or if it pops up in the AI search now, right? Before, you have to come up with all these fancy funnels. Now, like, the game is, how can we show up in ChatGPT as a recommendation? And overnight, it completely changed marketing.
I'm Sammi Cohen, and this is Social Currency, a podcast that unpacks the stories that are shaping business, culture, and the intersection of the two.
Today, I'm sitting down with Rebecca Shostak, the co-founder and now CEO of Flodesk, the platform that's reimagining how creators and small businesses grow their audiences using beautiful design and cutting-edge AI. Rebecca has one of the sharpest POVs in the entire marketing world, and she's here to make the case that email marketing isn't dying at all. It's actually the highest ROI, most resilient channel you can own. In this conversation, she breaks down why algorithms are unreliable, why inboxes still convert better than social, and how AI is transforming what's possible for small teams. You know that I'm obsessed with all things social media, but the problem with relying too heavily on platforms like Instagram and TikTok is that you don't own your audience. The algorithm could change any day, and you could stop showing up on feeds. Or even worse, your account could be suspended, and you'd have no way of reaching your audience ever again. But with email marketing, you do own your customer. You have their email address, so you don't have to worry about losing that connection. That's why I've partnered with Flodesk to bring you this episode, so you can make an email strategy that actually sticks. And today, Rebecca and I also get into her hottest takes on the marketing industry, what the pandemic taught her about small business resiliency and community, and how she built a business model focused on profitability from day one, not growth at all costs. It's smart, it's honest, and it's packed with insights every founder and creator needs to hear. This is Rebecca Shostak, Social Currency. Rebecca, welcome to Social Currency.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited for this conversation.
So I want to start with perhaps the most obvious question, which is, what was the specific moment that you realized that the email marketing world needed to be shaken up?
Oh my goodness. Well, this goes back a long way, actually. So I went to UCLA and I studied design there. And my first job out of college, I actually got hired to design the merch for a lot of bands like Rihanna, Linkin Park, Pussycat Dolls.
Wait, how?
I saw the ad on Craigslist and I got excited about it and I applied, and they wanted me on the team because I was the only female in the design team at the time, and they were having trouble creating merch that was selling to females on tour. So I guess my aesthetic sort of naturally drew women in from the start. So I don't know, I got the job, which was really exciting, and it was super fast paced. And in that job, I learned how to design for a lot of different brands. So every day it was like a new band, new t-shirts or an album cover or whatnot. So I ended up learning how to design for a lot of brands really quickly. But I'm from Silicon Valley, and I was actually on the cover of Silicon Valley when I was 13 years old, and they interviewed me and they were like, Rebecca, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I was like, I really want my own tech company one day, or my own business. So that's sort of, it was in my DNA from the start, and I really wanted it. So while I had my parents were proud of me, I got a real job out of college, I knew in my heart that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So after that, I decided to start a template shop. This was around 2010 for professional photographers. And so from that, I started creating templates that were like branding materials and pricing materials, and materials that help photographers run their business and build their brands. And I had all sorts of templates for all sorts of things, and I launched it, and it took off because at the time, digital templates were pretty new. They were for Photoshop and the Adobe Creative Suite. And I ended up asking my audience all the time, what else do you want me to create? And I got a lot of feedback and requests for email templates for MailChimp. So again, this was between like 2010 and 2014. And I produced a ton of email templates and they sold like hotcakes. Like people loved these email templates. But every time after I sold the templates, I got an all caps email afterwards saying, Rebecca, like, what the heck did you sell me? I cannot implement these templates in MailChimp. Like, your designs look so beautiful on your website, but I feel like this is false advertising because it is not easy to actually take your templates and put them in MailChimp. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like this is a huge problem in the industry, especially for small businesses. But I grew up in Silicon Valley. I know what it takes to start a tech company. So I was like, there's no way that I'm going to be able to do that. Someone needs to solve this problem, but not me. It's just too big of a problem. It's too big of an endeavor to undertake. So 2013 went by, 2014, 2015, 2016. I moved to San Francisco and started hanging out with friends that were also in the tech industry. And it kind of reawakened the techie in me at that point. And I was still getting these angry emails about the email templates. And at some point, I just remember it like came to me that this absolutely had to be in the world. And it's been 5-6 years and no one else has done it. And I think it has to be me. And it just, I mean, I'm not super religious, but it felt like a religious calling. It truly felt like the universe or God was saying, Rebecca, like, this is what you need to dedicate your life to, and this is what you need to do. And that's the moment that I knew.
Wow. So literally your potential customers and existing customers were begging you. They were coming to you year after year saying, fix this problem.
Yes. I mean, they inadvertently, right? Because they weren't actually asking for a platform, but they were asking for a simpler, easier way to build emails that felt personal and matching their brand. And my templates were just like plain texts and some HTML and imagery that they could edit in Photoshop and then supposedly bring into MailChimp. And I didn't realize how difficult it actually was until I started getting these emails. So yeah, I mean, it was hiding in plain sight.
And so there's a term called founder market fit, right? When the person who's starting the company is so well positioned in the market also, it's kind of like this perfect match. So what does founder market mean to you?
Well, for me personally, it means that I am actually my own customer. And that was 100% the case because when I had my template shop, email marketing was the biggest way that I was able to make my sales. And I learned that very early on. And so I was actually using a solution called Mini that ended up getting acquired by GoDaddy in the last few years, and it's kind of phased out of existence. But it was the only thing at the time that had even a little bit of the simplicity that I was looking for in that type of platform, enough to where I felt comfortable using it. So I feel like just the fact that I knew exactly what I needed because I was a small business owner allowed me to put myself in the shoes of our customers and build something that was right for them. So in a way, I was our first customer and I understood the pain point at a visceral level, on a personal level. And then I created something first for myself that also worked for our target market.
Yes. And you started the company with a co-founder, correct?
Two of them, yes.
Yeah. So tell me about that moment where you decided to really work with them to solve this problem. Because what you had said, obviously, you had the deep industry background, the design focus. So how did you connect with them?
Yeah, so my co-founder, Martha, who's our CEO, she and I met at a happy hour. It's a long story, but I was telling her about this issue that I was seeing in the small business industry. The email marketing was a huge pain point. And she was like, Rebecca, oh my goodness, I'm seeing the exact same thing from my angle. So she was working at HoneyBook, which is a CRM for small businesses. So she was serving the same audiences. And we actually had a lot of overlap with my template shop and HoneyBook. So when we started connecting, we realized that we were seeing the exact same pain point from both sides. And she and I got together over wine and chips and salsa, and we were like, what is going on here? We're seeing these incredible small business owners, some of them with 6-figure businesses, the most gorgeous brands, incredible websites, incredible Instagram feeds. Their emails are hideous. I mean, that was crazy to us. Like, how can you have such an incredible brand on every other platform, and then your emails are just like this giant WTF moment, right? So she and I got together and started talking about this, and she had a lot of business acumen, and she was working at HoneyBook at the time as a tech company and had been there since the early days and had seen a lot of the things that Honeybook did to be successful and had a lot of great ideas on how to bring that to Flodesk. So that was really exciting for me. And now on the other side, our CTO co-founder, Trong, lives in Vietnam. And so he actually, when he was in university, I found him online and on I think it was called Odesk, which is now Upwork. So he was running an outsource at the time, and he built my template shop for me. And he's just so incredible and so smart. And he actually had his own tech company that he sold. So he's very accomplished in his own right. And he was in the middle of a transition with his own business then. But we had this 10-year relationship already where we had been working together. And I was like, there was no other technical founder in the world that I would want to bring on board. And it was sort of this confluence of, we had a great idea, and we were all I had Trong and Martha and I were hanging out in San Francisco, and we had these people coming together at exactly the right time when we had the idea, and it was sort of like chemistry, right? You just mix it and somehow we got something good out of it.
Yes. And you mentioned that Trong was in Vietnam.
Yes.
And so I was looking at your LinkedIn and I saw that you had done recently this big move to Asia. So can you tell us a little bit more about, and I know I'm jumping quite a bit ahead, but I'm really curious about what really led that big leap.
So we launched Flodesk in 2019. It was a wild success. It was sort of a runaway horse. In fact, sometimes too much so, right? Where we had all of the fun moments that you have with a successful tech company, where you get the server outages and Amazon shutting us down because we had spammers and we didn't know how to protect against spam in the early days because we were so brand new to email marketing. Now we have teams to deal with that, which is incredible. But fast forward to January of this year, or January, February, March, somewhere in the spring. And we had been watching AI come to life, watching this new technology evolve, and obviously causing a real stir in the industry. And there's so many conversations in the creative industry right now, of course, around AI. But it was this moment where we saw WordPress launch their prompt to create AI play. And in the same breath, Canva did the same. And we looked at each other and we were like, this is not some fun tool that's just a trend. This is becoming an expectation, not just for the world, but for our own industry, for the solopreneur and small business community. And that is the moment we realized that we have to invest in this technology or we're going to get left behind. Again, I'm from Silicon Valley, so I've seen tech cycles back since the 1990s. And AI is one of those once in a lifetime moments in technological development where giants are made overnight and companies that have been massive players are now irrelevant. So it really is an incredible technology, and there are a million ways to talk about it. But for us, it was wow, we see the way this technology could actually help us bring the original vision of Flodesk to life in a much better way, because there are many ways to apply AI, and a lot of companies are just using it as a way to check the box for investors or have it as a feature release. But we realized that our goal was to help people create the most gorgeous but simple emails in record time, and all of a sudden AI comes in, and is there a way to solve the problem that we set out for our members 6 years ago in the best way possible with this new technology? And we decided we absolutely have to invest. So our engineering team is in Vietnam. We have about 35 engineers there. They are absolutely incredible. The country is incredible. If you haven't been to Vietnam, you have to go. But I realized that there was no way for us to truly understand the technology and see what was possible for us unless I was actually physically there with the engineers side by side. So my husband and I just packed a suitcase, flew to Vietnam, and I was only supposed to be there for 4 weeks, and I ended up staying there for 4 months because we got so deep into it. But I have so many battle stories about what happened during that time, and we had moments where we were about to have breakthroughs and realized our approach wouldn't work and had to go completely back to the drawing board. It's a brand new way of developing software. I could go on and on about it, right? Because you have traditional code, which is almost it's almost like carpentry, where you have your blueprint plan and you have your wood and your nails, and you say, okay, here are the specs, go hammer the wood exactly as I say. But with AI, it's almost like water, where there's an organic generative element to it, and it's more like plumbing, where you have to say, okay, I can't actually control the direct thing, so I have to create the pipe work or the guardrails around it to let it flow in the right way. So anyway, it's a lot of words to say that it was quite an incredible experience, very frustrating and also amazing breakthroughs. And by the end, we came out with what I think is a brand new way to integrate a design system with AI. And I can't wait for our play to come out early next year. But I just remember this moment last week when I was on the call with our patent attorney and we were thinking, oh, is this patentable? What can we do? And he's like, I think this is eligible for at least 7 patents, what you guys have done. So,
wow. Yeah, that is so exciting.
That's basically my Vietnam story in a nutshell.
Well, that's a great story. So I am so excited to see how AI really makes an impact in what you're building now.
Oh, you're making me so excited too,
Yeah.
like because I fully agree with you. And I think there's ways that platforms are integrating AI that are incredibly clunky and obvious and almost obnoxious. And you're like, just get that out of my way. Like, I don't want to like prompt to change my account settings. Like, come on, like just give me a button, right?
Yeah.
But I think what we wanted to do was like one of the biggest issues that I've seen with our members over time with Flodesk is like, it is beautiful, it is simple, and our templates are much better than most of the industry standard. But you still get this moment, especially with creatives, maybe you have like a writing brain, but you don't have a design brain, or vice versa. You have a design brain, but you don't have a writing brain. So you choose a template that you love, maybe because it looks beautiful, but the content structure itself, like even down to like the header and the middle section of the text and the footer, it's not exactly structured to your use case. So there you are pulling a template that you feel matches your brand, not your use case. So you're kind of struggling to make those two things work together, and you can spend a lot of time and energy trying to do that, or vice versa, where you like have a template where the writing or the copy or the content speaks to you, but the design is completely off. So there you have to wrestle too. And so our job was to figure out how you could just, with a single prompt, build an email that really feels like your brand, down to like we have these proprietary color systems. Like it's so exciting. And like the way that we bring in, the AI actually brings in design elements to match your use case. Craft that email for you in that content structure that's like a really strong starting point. And then from there, you can have a manual settings come in and take it over the finish line. And that's actually one of the things that is going to make our experience unique is on one side, you have the prompt to create in the agentic, it's called agentic editing, right? Where you go back and forth and being like, hey, make this purple or change the copy. And then most companies stop there, or you just have manual settings. But in ours, then you're able to click an element, go and change the manual settings on it so that you can play with it more in like a creative mode, like a traditional software, and then go back to the agentic editor and have this experience that goes back and forth. And I think that's one of our biggest innovations. I can't wait for it to come out.
I'm very excited. So I want to, even though we just went really deep into AI, I also want to, I think it's very necessary to give listeners, for someone who hasn't interacted with Flodesk, or maybe they don't even know what it is, they're hearing about it for the first time. Can you tell us how Flodesk is differentiated in this wild world of email marketing?
Of course. Well, I mean, at its core, Flodesk is beautiful, simple email marketing. That's it. And even saying that is sort of a differentiator, right? Because I think a lot of tools try to differentiate themselves. I've seen the industry change over time by being an all-in-one or having a bunch of power features or saying we have this tech or that. And we're differentiated by doing less, right? Like we've really tried to carve our niche in the market, and it's become like more than a niche now. We have over 100,000 people using the platform, but like one of our core philosophies that we've instilled at the company is not what can we add to Flodesk, but what can we remove? And by aligning the team on this idea of like simplicity and removing mental friction as you move through the platform, it's created an experience where people are like, oh my God, email marketing, it's so stressful. I hate wrestling with it. I'm not going to use it for my business because I just can't deal with these tools, to, wow, like this is such a breath of fresh air. I actually enjoy creating emails. Like it's actually fun. I actually love my emails. And I think that's a huge differentiator.
And it's funny, as you're describing that, I'm thinking back to a thread post. I actually don't even know what to call threading.
Like a thread, like a,
it's not tweeting. It's like a threading.
Whatever you like a.
That makes sense. Okay. I'm sure listeners will feel very strongly about this, and maybe there is a term, but I like stitch. So I did a stitch and I actually put something out there because I have anecdotally noticed that when it comes to not only AI, but just technology more generally, people are so overwhelmed. I think AI has been a huge push into the overwhelm because you're getting new updates every single day. And I think that there's this deep desire more than ever before for simplicity.
Actually, one of my biggest inspirations is a mid-century architect named Richard Neutra. And he was one of the foundational thought leaders in the early 1920s about this mid-century modernism that we've come to take for granted in all of our design spaces. And his philosophy was revolutionary at the time. Now maybe not so, but his idea was that clean, minimal design not only looked more aesthetically pleasing, but actually could improve your health and improve your wellness. And so when we were thinking about designing Flodesk and designing the platform, we wanted to bring that feeling to our small business owners, right? Because the people we serve aren't enterprise customers who have a deep knowledge necessarily of every part of the way their marketing tools work, right? We have people who are bakers, who are photographers, who are out running coffee shops. They don't have time to wrestle with a tool that's going to make them feel like they don't know what they're doing. They need something that's going to set them up for success. And so it doesn't necessarily mean that we're not building power features. We are, but when we build them, we really try to take that Neutra philosophy in mind and how can we build this feature in the way that reduces mental friction for our members when they use it, where it makes it empowers them to make the most of their email marketing without getting snagged up on dealing with these clunky interfaces and all of these features with these weird nomenclatures even that software companies try to make up to make them almost sound smarter. It's how can we speak to them in plain language? How can we make the design super intuitive? How can we set people up for success by showing them less so they don't get that FOMO feeling of I'm in my software tool and there's 1,000 things I'm not using, so I must be doing something wrong. And I think that's really, I know that sounds normally when people talk about differentiators at companies, they talk about their tech, or I think our AI tech is going to be a differentiator, but up until this point, they talk about features or some kind of positioning or something that they've done that's intrinsically theirs. But I think this philosophy and this obsession with our customer experience is a differentiator that wouldn't fly in a VC conversation, but is truly what has made us successful.
Yeah, VCs would be more is more, baby. What do you mean you're taking stuff away?
I know.
And speaking of that, actually, so let's talk about the funding piece for a little bit. So I read that the company was pretty profitable very early on. Is that right?
It was profitable 2 weeks after we launched.
Wow. For a tech company, you know how special that is.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah. So was that frame of mind of we really need to make sure that we are bringing in revenue and we're essentially able to sustain the company on its own, the mentality from the gate? Or walk me through how you and the co-founders really thought about the funding piece.
Absolutely. So it was founded in San Francisco. So we were swimming in the water of Silicon Valley. So of course we were going to a lot of events and conferences and rubbing shoulders with VCs. So of course the conversation was always on the table. And we actually had a lot of moments where we got in front of VCs and were able to make our pitch. We even got rejected by Y Combinator, actually, which is a badge of honor.
Wow, that is a badge of honor. Congratulations.
Thank you. But I think we went into those conversations and the question was always okay, that your design is pretty, that's nice, but how are you actually different? Where are you going to find your footing in the market? We actually had one VC say to us, if you find your positioning in the market, we'll fund your Series A. And so we didn't need funding and we were able to bootstrap out of our pockets. We paid literally my paycheck went to my dinners and my engineers for 2 years straight, and same with my co-founders. But we always felt if we were bootstrapped, we wouldn't have to be distracted by the funding conversation, right? It's a lot of CEOs and early stage companies spend a huge amount of energy just fundraising and trying to tell the right story to investors. But instead, we were able to take that time and actually have hundreds of customer conversations, putting mock-ups in front of them day and night, trying to figure out the perfect experience and obsessing about what our customers actually wanted and solving a real world problem. instead of solving the problem of how do we take funding. And I think that forced us to stay laser focused on building something that people actually love, which is like a foundational core pillar of Y Combinator, right? It's like build things people love. And so from that, I feel like we had product market fit, like literally from the minute that we launched, because we were testing the software constantly with member feedback. And from that, we built a product that people loved, people are willing to pay for it. And as soon as we launched, like we started getting people paying as soon as their trial ended. And it was crazy we thought maybe we launched in August of 2019, and we thought by the end of 2019, we would, if we were lucky, get 500 paying customers, and we were already at $1 million ARR by that time.
Wow. That's incredible. Do you think that with the timing of your launch too, because whenever I talk to founders who started anywhere from the year 2019 to 2021, I always have to ask about the impact of the pandemic, right? So what was the impact of that time period to the business? Do you think that was almost like rocket fuel because people were at home reassessing, especially small business owners, they were trying to get to their customers virtually because the in-person interaction wasn't happening?
Oh, that's such a great question. So when we're looking at charts, you call when you see something that goes way up quickly a step change, right?
Yeah.
Or you go from like a lower step to a higher step really quickly. So I would say the pandemic was a step change for us. Now, it was a very difficult time for so many reasons. So I don't want to say that it was great, but it was very good for our business because it was a moment where a lot of small business owners realized that the only way that they could sell their goods or monetize or even speak with their audience was online. So as soon as the pandemic hit, we ended up posting a suite of templates that actually helped small business owners communicate with their customers about like, we're shutting down and here's our reopening, or here's what the pandemic means for our business, or here's how you can support us. And so we just had this massive step change, like a huge amount of people coming onto the platform really quickly. And it was like a giant wind in our sails. And then, of course, too, there was a lot of money from the government that was being given to help small businesses. And I think that injection of cash to help small businesses also helped because they had the funds to sign up for services that were going to help them make it through a really difficult time in small business. So I think I'm sad about what happened during that time because we lost so many incredible small businesses. There's so many restaurants that I like mourn daily still. But at the same time, I'm really proud that Flodesk was a solution that could help so many small businesses make it as well.
Yeah. And trust me, you are far from the first person to say it was a really tough time for everyone, but our business happened to be positioned in a place where it could actually help other small businesses or people in some way. I'd love to talk about the model of Flodesk because I read that Flodesk was going to be phasing out its flat rate model later this year. So I'd love to hear about the back end of that decision. So what led to the change in your pricing model?
Oh, well, that's a great question. We've been getting that a lot because we're actually right now in the middle of our pricing change campaign. So you can still lock in your unlimited plan. But after that, new customers will be on the new pricing. But basically, we knew that the unlimited pricing was something that really differentiated Flodesk from the beginning. But we also knew that it wasn't something that could be sustainable. And frankly, it's incredible that we made it 6 years without changing the pricing. I mean, I had a lot of people saying like, how could you afford this? Like, how are you able to do that? Yeah. And the truth is like Flodesk has grown over time and we've added a lot of new features, making the platform much more robust. And with that, we've attracted a lot of members who have larger lists. And now we have members who have lists in the millions. And we were never designed for that at the beginning, right? We were lucky if we got the 500 customers right at the end of 2019. So basically, as our customer base grew and we attracted more upmarket customers, we realized that the pricing model obviously was not built to sustain today's business with those members on it. So we decided that it was finally time to address that and change our pricing so that we had a pricing model that would actually grow with our business. And I think the thing too, though, is there were a lot of ways that we could have addressed the pricing change, but I'm really excited about what we've chosen to do because I always believe that a company's price or like the value that we provide to our customers should reflect the value that they pay us. So with this new pricing model, it's like we will charge for the number of subscribers that you have, but that also means that your business is growing. So we're providing value to you as your business grows. And I think that that's a win-win situation for everyone.
Now, I want to ask you about this trend of a lot of these email marketing platforms are becoming these all-in-one marketing suites. So I'd love to get your take on how you think about feature creep versus focus. Because as you said, Flodesk is very, very defined in its focus. And something that you think a lot about are the features that you roll out to customers versus the ones that you politely don't roll out. So how do you think about the focus piece?
Well, I think it's a really interesting question. And when I was thinking about it, I have to ask, like, what do they mean by all-in-one, right? Because you can have a lot of different business tools that serve customers. So I think what's really important is something that I heard from one of the founders of Intercom when I went to my first SaaS conference back in San Francisco. And he says, you have to know where your product begins and ends. And for us, I think we're known as an email marketing company, but we also have a product called Checkout that helps you monetize. And the idea is that we have email marketing at our core, but we also have these other tools that are sort of email marketing adjacent that can enhance your email marketing experience and help you monetize and close the funnel from the start to the finish. So I think for us, it's more about focusing on the exact problem that we want to solve and then building the tools that help solve those problems. And for us, it's sort of like the non-social media marketing world where it's like email marketing is the core and that's sort of how you engage with your audience. But then there are other actions that you want to take. Like, for example, we have forms that serve as a link. We have like a link in bio form that have been super popular with our members. And that helps with the super top of funnel of converting your audience to your email marketing list. And then from there, we have checkout where you can actually sell to them. So we're seeing that we sort of want to play in this space of serving that funnel of building an audience off of social media and then helping them monetize. And so I think in one boundary, that's sort of where we want to play. And then in another sense, like our focus is really on beauty and simplicity. So it's not just about what we build, but how we build it. And so if we're laser focused on our core philosophy, what can we remove? How can we make this the most gorgeous brand forward experience possible for all of these tools that we do want to build? I think that makes a really focused product.
And I want to hear more about this checkout. So can you tell us a little bit more about exactly what it does? So you explained kind of where it exists in the marketing funnel. It's at the end. But if I'm a small business owner and I'm looking for that monetization piece, why would I use checkout?
So are you asking to check it out? Any of that's right?
Please. No, I love it. I'm here for the dad jokes. I'm checking out checkout.
All right, let's check it out. Okay, cool. So for lack of a better way to put it, checkout is our sales funnel play. So basically, it's a product that allows you to build a beautiful sales page that kind of matches the brand world of our emails and forms, and then a checkout page where you can. And we even have the ability to add an upsell, so you can have your main product and then like a little bonus offer, and then a really beautiful delivery page. So it's a very focused, narrow product, but it's been very successful and popular. And it just allows you to get a quick, dirty offer up. Like, it's not a shop, it's not a cart, it's not this huge e-commerce store. It's just something where if you're a business just getting started and say if you're a photographer and you want to sell like mini sessions for the holidays, or you want to test out like a downloadable or a PDF about like how to create a super successful podcast for you, right? That it allows you to get a quick offer up and out and selling, within minutes, instead of having to wrestle with tools that force you to build like this expensive, clunky shop.
Yeah, it seems like from everything that you've explained about how your business has grown, that would be the natural extension, especially for customers who they love using the forms and all of the beautiful branding forward communications with their customers. It's like that last piece to kind of, if you didn't have that, it's like this cliffhanger of like, all right, now go figure this last part out on your own.
Exactly. And also the way we build is completely member focused. So we don't build things unless a lot of our members actually ask for it. And this was our most requested item because they were like, my emails look beautiful and my forms look beautiful. And then I want my sales to look beautiful too. And how can I make that experience super consistent? Because right now the funnel is broken for small businesses too, where it's like you've got one tool for your forms, one tool for your email, and one tool for your sales. And like the different companies have different ways of handling the designs. And so it creates this really inconsistent experience, which can actually break trust with your customers too. If they're like, well, your email looks that good, but then your funnel, your sales checkout page looks kind of sus. I'm going to be afraid to put my credit card in, right? So like having that consistency of branding across the entire funnel, I think makes a huge difference when you're trying to sell online.
You bring up a really good point of, if your checkout page looks sus, are customers really going to want to put in their credit card info?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
My card is not going in.
Yes. And so in terms of larger consumer perception and perhaps industry trends, as you know, email has been declared dead so many times, yet it's still, as of today, we're in 2025, it remains one of the highest ROI marketing channels. So what do you see the email marketing channel evolving into in the next 5 to 10 years?
Okay, we have to take a moment and pause on this because, Sammi, when was the last time you checked your email?
When was the last time? Literally like 10 minutes before we sat down.
Okay, and for everyone listening to this, I'm pretty sure you may have even checked your email while you're listening to this, right? So it is not dead. It is just so ubiquitous that you practically don't notice it anymore. It is like, it is the winner. I mean, actually the first email ever sent in the 60s was sent from a location that was really close to where my parents live. So I feel like I was like born in the...
Wait, where is that?
In Portola Valley, in Northern California.
Yeah.
But I just think that when people say email is dead, it's like they're just trying to get spicy likes on social media or something. I mean, it is still like one of the most used communication channels on the planet. And I would just say if you're a business owner and you don't have email marketing as one of your channels, like you need to get on it right now. Because everybody uses it, and it's like, unlike social media, you don't have to fight an algorithm. It's a very personal communication in the inbox. Your emails are right there mixed in with like the companies that spend billions of dollars on their marketing, unlike social media where you have to pay just to be seen. So I think email is critical, and it's just so it's dominated forever, and it's like people just don't realize it because it's the water we're swimming in.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting the way you phrase that it's so ubiquitous that it's almost like we forget that it's so omnipresent. And I think I could go on a soapbox about this for a very, very long time, but I always tell people, and this is kind of like my piece of the moment, but I believe that I don't care who you are, where you work, whether that's corporate, freelance, what have you, that every single person needs to be building their personal brand in the era that we're living in, where your online real estate is just as important as your offline real estate, as in IRL. And I believe that for someone who may not be feeling great about getting on short form video, because I get it, it's not for everyone, email is such a great way to start building an audience, even if you don't plan to monetize it. I think that there are so many ways that communication today can be really democratized through email, and people can really own a little slice of, I don't know, building their personal brand through email. And I always, whenever someone comes to me and they're like, how do I start building my name, or I want to get into thought leadership, how do I approach it? I always say, start a newsletter, build your online community through email.
I totally agree with that. Like, and nodding my head so hard. And the truth too is like email's a dynamic medium too, right? Like we've got a lot of people who are on the plain text train, and that's cool, and we have templates for them. But we also have people who have very visual brands or e-commerce stores, and they need to actually visually showcase what they're selling. And you can do a lot with email. And like the thing is too, it's very personal. Like you can do things like personalization, where you can actually add someone's first name directly into the email or into the subject line. And you can make your emails as personal or as corporate or salesy as you want, but it's a really exciting way to express creativity. And I never hear anyone talk about email that way. Like when people talk about email, like, oh, email marketing, it's like the ugly baby of the marketing industry. But I've really fallen in love with designing for email because of all the creative possibilities that come out of that format. It's like this long scrolly format. You can put images in, you can put GIFs, you can put text, you can add your signature. I mean, it's a really cool creative space to play in. It's a cool canvas. It's like the perception is that it's not, but if you actually get into it and start having fun with it, you'll realize that it's incredible to be able to communicate with people in such a personal way.
Yeah. And I actually, the question of having it being declared dead, in my humble opinion, I had to ask the question because it's true. It has been declared dead for various times over the last few decades, but I actually think it's hotter than ever. I think that just with the world that we live in now, and you spoke to it briefly, but this fight against the algorithm, right? Where creators of any kind, small businesses of any kind that are on, and you have to be on the social media platforms, right? That's how people generally will find out about these businesses or creators. But the power of owning your audience and having a direct line cannot be overstated.
Oh,
it's so important.
so true.
And it's like every single week I get a new update from, the head of Instagram, Musari, and he's like, we're changing the algorithm. And yet again, it's like another opportunity for you to be like, oh, like, am I going to get reached this week or not? And with email, your email list, they're going to receive it.
It's true. I mean, that's scary, right? The amount of work that people put into their social feeds these days is unbelievable. And I mean, it makes sense. Like it's also a really cool medium and it's super creative and you have video and it's dynamic and they add all these features to add filters and stuff. Like and the way you can interact with social media is really cool, but you're completely at the whims of the larger companies. Like it's rented land, right? Email marketing really allows you to own your audience and you can take it to any platform that you want. But at the end of the day, like you're in charge of how you can communicate with your customers versus someone else. And I just think that's critical as a business owner.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Okay. So I want to get some hot takes from you now.
Okay.
So what is a contrarian view that you have about the future of marketing?
Okay, so maybe this is too spicy. I don't know, but
you're on the Social Currency podcast. There's no such thing as too spicy.
Okay, I'm going to say something and it's going to sound crazy and then I'll explain it. So I believe marketing is dead. Okay, so what I mean by that is I think that especially in larger companies, there's still an impulse where if you're like, our growth is slowing, we need a big fancy CMO to come in and bring in this big team and start marketing. But I think that model is dying. I think that different brands and different companies have to reach their customers in wildly different ways. Like, for example, Flodesk is extremely community driven. So for us, it was really important that we see that as a marketing channel for our community and that we invest in it in the way that it needs to be invested, which isn't necessarily going and hiring some Silicon Valley CMO to come in and figure out some marketing campaign to create a community. Like for us, it was actually like, how do we actually foster this cult following that we've built and market to them in that way. And other companies, I think, will need to find ways of distributing their product and building awareness in those ways. And so there's that. And then there's also this phenomenon now of like the funnel's kind of dead too, right? Like all of a sudden the traditional funnel where it's like you drive ads to some landing page and then people learn about it and then maybe they they do some consideration on like a review site and come back is dead. Like people will only buy from brands that they trust or if it pops up in the AI search now, right? So it's like before you would have to come up with all these fancy funnels. Now like the game is how can we show up in ChatGPT as a recommendation? And overnight, it completely changed marketing. So I think people, like, how do you buy products? Like the way I buy them now is I call up my friend who I know is really into handbags or makeup or whatever, what you're looking for. And then they're going to be like, oh, I just tried this product and you got to go to Sephora and blah, blah, blah. And then I'm just going to make a beeline for that product and not even consider others.
Second one, what is a widely accepted best practice in email marketing that you actually think is overrated?
Okay, I think that the whole idea that size matters is overrated. So when we talk about list size, okay, so I'll take a step back. On social media, it's all about how many likes, how many follows, how many people reposted or reshared. But with email marketing, it's all about the quality of your list, right? So you can have a huge list, but it's almost like a tree that has like brown leaves on it. Like you're not looking at the tree and saying how many leaves are on it total. You're like, how many good leaves are on it so that I can prune the brown leaves. And similarly, you want a list that's highly, highly engaged and excited about whatever you're offering. So a lot of people like grow your list, make your list bigger, build your audience. And obviously that is important. You do want your audience, but it has to be a focus on quality and people who actually want to engage with your content. So I think for me, that's something that I hear over and over in the email marketing space. And I'm like, well, yes, you do want as much of an audience as you can get, but at the same time, you have to make sure that you're cleaning your list properly and that they really care about engaging with you. Otherwise, they're just going to ignore you. So what's the point?
Yeah. And for someone who's not nearly as much of an expert as you are on email marketing, in the industry, what is the generally considered to be a good open rate and click-through rate? And I know it's industry specific a little bit, but can you give our listeners like a little bit more of like a numbers behind what's considered good?
Okay, so I'm happy to. And again, like you said, I want to qualify it with the fact that it is industry specific. But when people ask me to look at their metrics or give feedback on how their list is doing, I would say, if I had to put a number on it, anything over 25% is a good open rate, especially for larger lists and for hyper engaged lists, especially on the smaller side. I mean, you can see anything from 50 to 80% open rates for lists that are small and super high quality. And then for a click-through rate, like they say industry standard is about 1 to 2%, but I like to see 3, 4, 5, 6%, even up to 10 if you have an offer that's really juicy, especially like something Black Friday or some like really crazy limited time deal that you're pushing people to. So those are sort of my personal like takes on the metrics. And obviously every list is different.
Okay. Love that. My audience loves the numbers, so that's helpful. Okay, so now we're going to questions that I ask every guest. So for this first one, can you share a system that you have in place that benefits your career or business?
Yes. So for me, the hardest part of being a leader, especially when your company gets to almost 100 people as ours is, hard conversations are inevitable. And for me, that is the hardest part of the business is like is the ability to have hard conversations. So when we first started Flodesk, I had not done a lot of work on myself. I had a lot of anxiety and I was very conflict avoidant. So that actually caused a lot of problems in the long run because I wasn't willing to have conversations head on to deal with issues that arose. So my co-founder, Martha, actually brought in a somatic coach who was incredible. And he taught us a lot about how the body follows the mind. The mind actually follows the body instead of the other way around. So I think in a lot of traditional therapy, it's more about like calming your mind and like figuring out ways to relax your brain and talking things out. But his suggestion was like, why don't you try doing things that actually relax your body and then your mind will relax with it. And this was really one of the most effective pieces of coaching that I ever received. So now if I know that I have a really hard conversation coming up or something that's making me anxious, I have a routine where I'll go and do like a weightlifting workout, which really helps my body relax, and then certain foods that I eat, and then getting a certain amount of sleep, and then potentially doing a meditation before the conversation. I know that sounds woo, but it is. I've tried pills, I've tried talk therapy, I've tried like every possible thing. But this system of the way that I set my body up for success going into conversations has been one of my, I would say, almost my biggest personal achievements in growing as a leader.
Okay, first off, I have to say that is not woo-woo at all. I feel like that's to be honest, with so many of the founders, CEOs I talk to, that's table stakes now. I think that there's been a huge push in really understanding that mental health is derived by obviously a confluence of factors, but how you treat your body is one of the biggest impacts in sleep and of course exercise, eating well, that stuff. But I'm the same way personally. So the next question comes from the social currency corner. And for this one, I ask you for your take on something that's impacting business and culture. But for this conversation, we've talked a lot about the email marketing side of Flodesk because that's what you do. But I actually want to ask you on your take on social media and specifically the Flodesk Instagram. So most recently, I saw this amazing video that Flodesk did, which was this mockumentary, and it was so well done. No, that was incredible. And I was like, whoever's behind this, aka Natalie, I know Natalie's behind this. She crushed it. But I want to ask about how Flodesk thinks about the Instagram and other social media platforms of it all, given obviously your email marketing, but you have to think about the full social media picture?
Oh my goodness. I love the question. I'm like on the spot because our social media managers here. No.
Shout out.
No, and Natalie and Maddie too, they both collaborated on the mockumentary, which I watched 4 times and died because it was so, okay. I love this question. The thing is, I come from a very snobby, high designed background, right? So like even the brand, the logo, the typography, the typeface that's in Flodesk was designed by Francois Rapeau, who did the Squarespace branding and Squarespace typography. And I went to Geneva in Switzerland to collaborate with him. I mean, this guy was like legit, right? So when I was thinking in the past about branding and how we showed up, I was like, oh, we have to be like the high designers and we have to be like differentiated with how elevated and academic our design is. But the truth is that social media has evolved a lot in the past 10 years. And I think I am not the expert on social media anymore. Because if it were me, it would be like all these super brandy posts, but those don't perform. And I don't think that they speak to this generation or the community. So I think our team has just done an unbelievable job of transforming our social into something relatable and on brand for us and something that captures people's attention. It doesn't necessarily make it feel like we're trying to sell Flodesk to them. We're just inviting them along for the journey and letting them in on a little bit of our backstory and our team and giving them tips and education about email marketing, but also keeping it super playful and fun. And I actually love that for us. It's almost like a new era for Flodesk. And I think it's very exciting. And I also like to think of the brand as a range of expressions now, because before it was like, okay, well, we have to have the high design website and the high design social media and the platform too. But I think it's okay for our website and our platform to stick to really classical, academic, rigorous design principles, but then allow the brand some breathing room in other places where it makes sense and allow us to play and have fun and lean into cultural trends and where Gen Z wants to be met at. So I actually am really, really loving this new expression of the brand that other team members have brought in, where it's like we've got the whole gamut, right? Like the academic design all the way to the super fun, playful mockumentaries, which I watched 4 times the other day and I could stop laughing.
It was good. So let's end with a listener question. So this question came from Ryan. What is your advice to a new founder on how to get to profitability as quickly as possible? Obviously, earlier we spoke about how Flodesk really from just out of the gate was able to focus on fundamentals and essentially be profitable from day one. So what would be your advice to someone, and this is industry agnostic, of course, on how to focus on profitability?
Yeah, absolutely. So people will pay money for something that they love. So find product market fit before you touch a line of code. And you can do this so easily now. There's so many tools where you can mock things up and put screens in front of your potential target audience long before you have developers start working on it. Now you have vibe coding, so you can even like mock things up that are sort of like a working prototype. But go out and find the people that you want to serve and then put your ideas in front of them. Put your mock-ups in front of them, even if they look basic, even if you're embarrassed. Like you should be embarrassed about the things that you're putting in front of your super early customers. Get their feedback and build it with their feedback. And I guarantee you that if you have an audience that's willing to spend money because they have a problem and you build a product from day one that is fit like a glove to their needs and solving their problems, they're going to pay you for it. So don't focus on profitability. Don't focus on the metrics or the numbers yet. Just focus on this idea that you're serving real human beings who need to find like a pain point that they're truly experiencing. They say like build a painkiller, not a vitamin, right? So find a pain point that they're really experiencing it, figure out how to solve it in the best way possible by asking them questions, by having feedback loops, by putting your ideas out in front of them. And from there, let that guide your product. And that will never leave you astray. And that's not even coming from me. Like Y Combinator and a lot of other really successful tech founders will say the exact same thing. But you have to build something people want and you have to do it with their feedback.
I love that. That is a really great note to end on. Rebecca, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I'm personally really jazzed. Of course, we talked about a lot in this episode, but I'm really excited to see the AI features that you're rolling out. And also, I think it's such an incredible company that's really at the forefront, especially on the design piece. And I'm really excited for my listeners to learn more and hopefully experience Flodesk after listening to the episode.
Well, thank you, Sammi. This was such a pleasure, and I loved our conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of Social Currency. I've been wanting to launch this show for so long. I can't tell you how excited I am to do this and how thrilled I am that you're actually here listening. It means the world to me. If you liked what you heard today, please rate and review the podcast because it massively helps to support the work I do to bring the show to life. And if you want to keep up with the hottest business lore in real time, follow me on Instagram at Sammi Cohen Talks and subscribe to my newsletter, Social Currency, which is linked in the show notes. Social Currency is a production of Social Currency Media and Money News Network. The podcast is hosted and executive produced by me, Sammi Cohen. Social Currency is produced by the Money News Network team. See you next time.